So first things first, Evan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not too bad as well. Before we delve into the latest record and everything that's been going on for the past couple of years, I'd like to jump back way to the beginning. Now, for you on your personal kind of musical journey, what was kind of the catalyst that got you on the path uh, that you are on now? Was it kind of discovering the banjo, or what was kind of the thing that kind of clicked?
Um, I I was into just like listening to music for a while, like when I was little, and my parents had good music around the house. Um, and I always loved it. I always loved humming melodies and like whistling melodies and stuff. And I'd always have like tunes bopping around in my head, but I didn't really start picking up the guitar until like early high school. I would get home from school and pick up a guitar and start playing for hours, and then you know, on my our like senior year of high school, Taylor, singer in camp, and a couple other of our buddies at the time started a band, and
Hmm.
we started playing art hops and gigs around town. And yeah, it wasn't until then that I we started playing shows that I really fell in love with the idea of being like an actual, musician, you know, and like that I could maybe do this and make a living out of it. So yeah, it started as a hobby, and yeah, so it wasn't until it was probably like 10 years ago when I was
Okay.
when I really I caught the bug.
Who were the first kind of guitar heroes or musical heroes for you that you kind of try to emulate or try to kind of figure out how they played their instrument?
Yeah, I'd say Tom Petty
Okay.
and Mike Campbell of the Heartbreakers. Um, yeah, I loved Tom's like voice and his like southern draw to his voice, and um, just amazing songwriter. And um, Mike Campbell's melodies, like his guitar lines on some of those songs are just iconic. And I was it was like that duo that really Tom's voice and songs and Mike's melodies and what he was doing on the guitar, that made me fall in love with like a band,
Mhm.
like the whole band thing, and just like collaboration, you know.
And that's an interesting point because having Taylor as the vocalist and then yourself kind of having those melodies on the guitar and stuff, how does that interaction between the two of you work, that chemistry?
Yeah, it's special. I don't really know how to explain it. It's because we're very different people, like we both
Mhm.
have our own hobbies outside of music that are completely different. And but just from an early age when we would get together to play it in high school and stuff, we just like it must be that too, just like starting when we were younger together too. Like I don't really collaborate with anybody else
Mhm.
and like write songs with anybody else. um so we just had that, like we were both our each other's first, and I think that's kind of what makes it special in a way. um yeah, I think that's it, just like, you know just from knowing each other for so long, and we know everything about each other, like
Right.
personally and musically. And I think that's goes a long way.
Very quickly, is there on the musical front, is there something, for instance, a band that you completely adore and then Taylor hates, or are you pretty much on the same line, on the same page?
We definitely have different tastes in music
Okay,
too. But I mean, we shared a lot of the same music, but
sure.
um, Taylor, at least the past few years, is he's more, he singer songwriter type, and he grabbed, at least, I mean, he loves everything like I do, but, and I love singer-songwriters too,
Sure.
but he that's what he gravitates towards, it seems like, and always has, is just the lyrics, and someone that can just sit down with a guitar and get their point across with their voice and their words. And I've always just been kind of like, and still am, like the band type, you know, like yeah. So it's, but we also, we both love each other's music and stuff.
Sure.
But in general, I'd say that's kind of how it is, you know, like, yeah.
In terms of your own musical development, then including the banjo and those kind of things, how did your, not only your skill level but your interest kind of expand into kind of where you are now? From you mentioned that kind of turning point 10 years ago. So how did kind of your overall development go in the last 10 years?
Yeah. We so back in the day when we had the high school band, Tay didn't play an instrument, so he was just singing, and I had the acoustic guitar, and you know, that's how we worked back then, is like I'd strum chords and he would write the words, and that's how it went for a while. And then Tay started getting better at playing rhythm guitar, and he said he felt more comfortable with an instrument in his hands when he'd want to, like, you know, playing live purposes. He wanted something in his hands while he performed. So he started getting better at acoustic guitar. Okay. And then it got to a point where we were both playing acoustic guitars, and we just kind of mutually agreed, like, we should somehow change it up to, you know, stand out more, or I forget exactly why, but one of our high school buddies' dads had a banjo in his basement, and Tay had written Vagabond and Ohio, like those are two of the first Caamp songs. And I honestly don't remember how I ended up with the banjo in my lap, but I think we were just like, let's try a banjo with these songs. I think it's fitting for these folkier songs. And I just picked it up and started strumming it like a guitar, because I'd never played a banjo before. But I think I looked up like the chords C, G, F, A minor, or whatever, and, you know, got a grip on those 4 chords and just started strumming like a guitar. And over time ended up developing like my own roles and my own way of playing it. And yeah, just kind of went from there, really.
Yeah, no, you can definitely hear kind of the culmination of that, or at least the result of that. Obviously in previous music as well, but on this new record, the way the textures are filled in by, for instance, a banjo or something. Is that, and I know you're big on melody, so is that something that you kind of place an emphasis on whenever songs are written, that you kind of try to fill in certain elements or certain textures?
Oh yeah, that's my favorite thing in the world to do. And Tay's amazing songwriter, and I like to think he sets me up for those moments on the banjo where I can just kind of write a melody, like a interlude or whatever, like something that in an earwormy kind of melody or something. So yeah, that's where I think our chemistry like really comes into play, is for those moments. Like, he knows that I would love to do that, you know, like love to write like a banjo melody, and like he leaves blank, you know, like after a chorus he'll leave like a blank spot for a banjo melody, like, you know. So it's yeah, it's definitely the songs that he's been writing have been super fun for me personally. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of like Evan, here's some space in the song and then just do your thing. It kind of it
Yeah,
feels like that as well.
cool.
Um, what I find interesting then is you mentioned earlier on you never, I don't know, never, but you don't really pay attention to lyrics, or at least initially you didn't in terms of listening to songs. So when the bare bones of, for instance, Lavender Days come to you and you kind of sift through it, what do you notice? What do you listen to lyrics? Do you listen to song structure? How do you kind of hone in on things?
Yeah. Well, I always listen to Taylor's lyrics because I just, we grew up together and I
Sure.
know the kid so well. And so like,
Mm,
it's very interesting for me. Like his lyrics are very interesting for me and they mean something to me. And like, um, I like to think that some of it might be about me, like, I don't know if they are, but like, I, I always am paying attention to Tay's lyrics and whatnot. And I do love lyrics. Like I love a nice line,
okay.
and it's just, I, yeah, just not how I started. It's not how I fell in love with music.
Right.
Was it was mostly through melody and the music itself. But you asked about Lavender Days and how that, yeah, like I said, like I know Tay, and I know he was going through a bit of a rough patch during COVID, like a lot of people were, but he had just some shit happen, and so yeah, I just, like, for example, I remember he showed us Lavender Girl, and this was, I think, November of 2020, and we didn't really have plans of recording up to that point. We were just kind of all on our own, working on our own stuff, and we all got together for the first time in a while, and he played us Lavender Girl, and yeah, just like I could just tell he'd been through the ringer, that
Mm,
week or whatever, and um, hearing him sing right in front of me, like those words, I'm pretty sure I kissed him on the cheek after he showed me that song, and I could just tell it meant something to him, and that was the moment when we were all, the kind of like light bulb moment where we were like, okay, we have a direction now. Like, this is a focus track. Let's build around this song. And that's the song, I'd say, in the moment when we were like, okay, let's get in the studio and build around this.
for you personally, then, what were the past couple of years like for you? Did you share some of those thoughts and emotions that Taylor had? And if so, is there perhaps a song or even just a line that really sticks out for you on this album?
Yeah. So some of the songs are a bit older. Like, we
Okay.
used to play Garden Song
Okay.
back, like, Tay had written that song back in maybe even 2014 or 15. So that song's been around a while. And there are songs like Found that, you know, Tay's had for a while. But some of the most recent songs, like Sure Of, the last song on the
Mm,
album, that's one of my favorites on the whole album. And it's just a beautiful, short, hopeful song. Tay recorded it on his voice memo app, and that's the version we ended up
okay.
using. Um, yeah, I love everything about that song. I think it gets the point across beautifully. It doesn't need extra, bells and whistles. It's just, it is what it is, and I think it's a beautiful way to end the album, and just a beautiful message as well.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I was wondering with a song like that, what is the thought process in for instance, Fever has more of a band sound, it's kind of a fuller sound, and then with this one, it's just as you mentioned, just a voice recording pretty much. It's very stripped back, bare bones, but that's in a way what makes it so intimate as well. So what is the thought process when you have the initial skeletons of a song and then trying to fill it in? Is it just depends on what the song is and what you kind of want to get out of it?
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, I don't know. We have different. When we get together and try these songs out, we kind of play through them a couple of different times in a couple of different ways, and we're all kind of picking up different instruments and trying to fit the song. And we pretty much, you know, like Fever, of course, like the way it started out, it was like we knew it was meant to be kind of like a soulful bluesy song. And I'm sure we talked about trying to stray from that, because we're like, okay, it's too easy to make this a blues song. Let's try something else. And I feel like we maybe tried it like an acoustic version of it or something, but I don't know. You just kind of know how it's gonna, you know, you just try it a couple different ways. And sometimes like the most obvious way is just the way it should be done, you know. And I know with Fever, it made too much sense to as a soul bluesy song. And we hadn't, I know it's been done before, but like we had never really done our take on a song like that before. So it was, in a way, it was fresh for us to do that, you know.
Yeah, is that something you as a band try to do, that every album or every album pretty much, that you try to kind of delve into or go outside of your comfort zone a little bit and see how you can kind of change things up a little bit?
Yeah. Every album now, I'm super pumped about where we're at as a band, because we're all just like growing as musicians, and it's what we love to do. So like we get home from a tour and we kind of just keep playing music, even if it's not together. We're like at home playing music. And yeah, like I said, we get home and we're always working on different stuff. And so when we do get together for another record, like bassist Matt, during the pandemic, he went off and bought an upright bass, one of those huge basses.
Sure.
And like we were like, okay, nice, man. And then but he showed up and was like it makes me laugh, because he's like, whenever I watch him play it, it's like I can't believe he can play this thing. And like he just went off during, you know, between tours or whatever, and bought it and just like learned every one of our songs on it. And he's like a master of this instrument now. And it's like, it's not an easy instrument at all to play. And it's completely different than playing like an electric bass, you know? And
yeah, it's fretless, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fretless, and you can't see, like, there's nowhere like marked where the notes are. Like it's amazing. And then like Joe, who plays keys, like went off and bought a bunch of different keyboards, and he comes to the sessions and he can play all this crazy right hand melody stuff now. And Tay's like an amazing electric guitar player now. Like he can drop out and improvise solos live in front of 4,000 people, like doesn't, like, no problem. And so yeah, it's like, so when we do go to into the studio now, it's like, it's a lot of fun, because we're all super comfortable playing these instruments and like trying new methods out and stuff. And we're all like becoming decent producers in our own right. So we all have these ideas, like weird studio ideas now. Like when back in the day, it was just, we would kind of just hit record and play the songs. And now we kind of take a lot more time to like, man, maybe I, instead of playing this melody, normally I could play it like on a slide or play it on a Mellotron, or, you know, we just kind of, it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Thinking outside the box, as your palette expands, you can get to think outside the box, I suppose, a little bit.
Yeah.
Finally then, because you mentioned playing live as well, after a 2-year kind of forced stop in terms of playing live, and then now being back on the road, I think you played some shows with the Lumineers, and getting back into things. What is that connection that you guys have with the crowd, and especially in its absence, how important, or with taking consideration of its absence, how important is it for you guys?
Oh, it's extremely important. And We go about it like how we started out playing back, even 10 years ago now. And when it was like just the two of us, we were playing these house parties and in our college town, and it was just always parties. We pretty much followed the keg around town, and like we would just, everyone was super excited and jumping around, and we fed into that immediately. And that's just kind of about how we go about it nowadays. And that's what keeps it fresh for us, is we like that interaction with the crowd, and we like to make each other laugh on stage. And up until last month, we went out on tour, we didn't use a set list, and just because it gave us a second in between songs to kind of look at each other, like physically look at each other and like communicate. And we'd always like make each other laugh, and I think the crowd would see that and laugh with us. And then someone would shout something out from the crowd, and then we'd say, talk to them to the mic. And it was just kind of like, it made everyone, the crowd and us, feel like more as one already than we already were, And I think that's just what's so contagious about our live shows. Like, you never really know what you're going to get. We always mix the set list up, and we're always down to just joke around and like not take ourselves too seriously up there. And I think that's what's special about our live show.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and that keeps things exciting as well for you guys, right? If you yourselves don't know what's coming, then obviously the audience is there's. I've heard musicians say this. When there's a chance that things might go wrong, that's when you hit the sweet spot, kind of.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, we love the imperfections of live performance, and like we love messing up, because it just makes, every time you mess up, it just like, it makes you be like, this is okay, and it allows you to want to take chances more. When you mess up and you acknowledge you messed up sometimes, and everyone, the boys are laughing at me or whatever, and then it allows, just like, I'm like, this is totally fine. Like, I don't need to be worried about messing up in front of thousands of people. Like, I got this, and I'm going to take an even crazier chance the next time around,
Right.
And you get better that way.
Yeah,
too.
definitely. No, I was used to listen to those bootleg albums by Bob Dylan, and he screwed up all the time, and that makes it so much more fun and human, instead of just this kind of formal document in a way. May I thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much.